What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Prem in USA podcast. And today we've got another interesting dilemma, which is Manchester United and their goalkeeping situation between Dean Henderson and David De Gea. I'm joined with Efe.
Yeah, and I think this is a very interesting topic. We see one very young goalie who's been playing amazing this year, and one obviously world class goalie who's at the later stages of his career but hasn't shown his best in a couple of years. So I think what we kind of need to ask is what will Man United value more, the young player or the established player? And what do you think they'll do, Oscar?
I think if I was United, I think personally I would probably take a chance on Henderson. I think he's a young player. He's English. He could be at the club for 7 to 8 years minimum. And that fact that he's English is key for European registration and things like that. That means you can go buy foreign players who will be cheaper and possibly better than the English players in different positions that you really need to strengthen. And you could get some good money for De Gea if you eat up some of his salary for a couple of years. I think taking a chance on Henderson makes a lot of sense for me.
Yeah, and you did actually you did touch on the wages, which is excuse me. It is a big part of it because Man United's wage bill is just astronomical. I mean, I think it's like around the same as Man City's, even though Man City are obviously much more successful in recent years.
Yeah.
So they do need to reduce it, and
Well,
and
what
what we've
better
seen
way to do that than take off your biggest wage earner, right? I mean, he's on
exactly.
350K a week reportedly, and that's an astronomical wage, especially for a goalkeeper who, as you touched on earlier, has not shown his best. And you've got a perfect replacement you don't have to spend any money on, and then you can go reinvest the money you bring in to go and strengthen other areas of the squad, and perhaps maybe help fund a move for Jaden Sancho or someone of the like.
Yeah, exactly. And I just something I'm very confused about with though is they loaned him out to Sheffield for I think 2 years in a row, and he's done well in both years. So with Dean Henderson, I mean, do you not think that it could be a risk though if you sell a world class goalie and then Henderson just doesn't perform?
Oh, it's definitely a risk. I mean, we've seen at Chelsea, right? As painful for me that we sold Courtois, which we were more forced into. It wasn't really a decision, but then we bought a Arrizabalaga, and he's been awful. And now we have a massive issue at goalkeeper. Obviously, Henderson is free, so that's a bonus, but it's definitely a risk. And I think if it doesn't pay off, goalkeeper is one of those positions you do not want to worry about. And you don't see many goalkeepers leave clubs because it's a pain to replace a goalkeeper. So I think there's definitely a risk, and I think United maybe don't want to take that risk.
Yeah, and given that they sell De Gea, another issue is who would they sell him to? He's kind of out of demand, or goalies are kind of out of demand in general.
Well,
Um,
yeah,
we see his favorite club, Real Madrid, at Courtois, who's been good this year. We see maybe PSG might want him, but they have Keylor Navas. I don't know. It'd be hard to force him out. So
I think it would be hard to force him out, and also I don't think he necessarily wants to be forced out. I'm not sure if how the fans would react to that. And you never want to force out a player who's that influential in the dressing room. Obviously, he's been there a long time, so he's probably quite influential. He's probably one of the more leadership players in the squad. So I think it will be hard to force him out. And I think there have been some minor reporting that Henderson is set to spend another year away from the club. And I think that might be why. But I think you're also risking, if Henderson can't come back and play for you this season, I don't see when is he going to be able to come back and play for you.
yeah, I agree. That's also another thing. Would he be happy with getting loaned out for another year or just being on the bench? As we've seen there's been a kind of revolution in soccer in recent years with player power, where young players they want to play right now. They're not happy at being at a big club and being on the bench. We've seen Sancho leave Man City because of that, and so they're gonna if they're good enough, they're gonna want to play right now and develop.
Well, yeah, and this guy is good enough, and he's 23 right now. So this is the last bit of development he's going to do before he starts peaking and entering his prime. So this is a huge time for him, and I think loaning him out again after such a stellar season and such a stellar showing at Sheffield, I think eventually you've got to be, he's going to want to force himself out of the club, I think. And I don't see how Man United are going to be able to keep him there.
So do you think we agree the best option for Man United is to try to sell De Gea and keep Henderson at number one?
I think so. That's what I would do, and I think there is to summarize, there is an element of risk to it, but I think overall that's probably just the best option. And I think looking back on it, you could be total geniuses because you could get a ton of money for a goalkeeper and still have your goalkeeper for the future for the next 7 to 8 years. He fills a lot of registration requirements on a cheaper wage.
All right, I think it's settled. Man United should sell De Gea and keep Henderson at number one.